In the late 1800s, the British Empire began expanding deeper into Africa, taking control of different regions across the continent. Among these territories were the areas that would later become known as Uganda and Kenya. In 1898, the British decided to build a railway connecting these two regions. But there was one major problem. The railway had to pass through an area called Tsavo, located near the Tsavo River. A place that was full of lions, not ordinary lions either. These were animals that had almost no experience with humans. They had never seen people as prey until thousands of workers arrived in their territory. To build the railway, the British sent around 3,000 workers and employees under the command of Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson to Tsavo. Many of the local workers already knew how dangerous this land was. They warned Patterson, "This place is full of lions. We never come here." But Patterson wasn't worried. He believed they had enough weapons and enough people to handle the situation. The workers didn't have houses or proper buildings to sleep in. They lived exactly where they worked. They would set up temporary camps, move forward with the railway, pack everything up, and build another camp further ahead. Even Patterson and the other British officers slept in tents. But only a few months after construction began, Tsavo would earn a terrifying new name: the place of slaughter. The first railway workers arrived in Tsavo in March 1898, and only a few days after construction started, something happened. One worker disappeared. He had gone to sleep in his tent the night before, but never showed up for work the next morning. Not long after, they found his remains. He had been torn apart, with clear signs that a large predator had attacked him. And there was only one animal in Tsavo capable of doing something like that: a lion. After that moment, fear spread through the entire camp. People became afraid of even walking outside. Patterson and the other workers started carrying their weapons everywhere, always ready to fire. But that still wasn't enough. Patterson created an armed guard. He selected workers who knew how to use rifles, gave them weapons, and ordered them to patrol around the camp. If the lions came close, they were told to shoot. Sometimes Patterson himself joined the patrols. But instead of finding lions, they found something much worse. They discovered the remains of workers who had disappeared without anyone knowing what happened to them. Within just a few weeks, around 10 people were missing, and everyone knew what that meant. No one was leaving Tsavo. They were being hunted. Then one day, a patrol group came running to Patterson with shocking news. They said they had seen 2 massive male lions attacking one of their workers. When the group moved closer, the lions immediately escaped into the darkness. That was the moment Patterson realized what they were dealing with. This wasn't just one lion. There were 2 giant predators hunting the camp, and these lions were not acting like normal lions. A normal lion usually hunts, takes down its prey, eats with the pride, and then rests. But these 2 lions were different. They had learned that humans were easy targets, and they were becoming more confident every night. Days passed. Then one night, when everyone in the camp was sleeping inside their tents, something terrifying happened. The darkness was everywhere. Suddenly, a loud scream exploded through the camp. And then, silence. Because it was pitch black outside, nobody dared to leave their tents. Everyone stayed frozen, waiting for daylight. They just wanted the night to end. But when the sun finally came up and the workers stepped outside, they saw something that turned their fear into pure horror. One of the tents had been completely destroyed. The two people sleeping inside had been dragged away. Their bodies were torn apart. Part of them had been eaten, and the rest was left scattered across the ground. After this disaster, Patterson gathered everyone together. He made a decision. The railway construction would stop temporarily. The workers needed to protect themselves first. They began collecting wood and building a defensive wall around the camp. Patterson also ordered fires to be lit all around the area and kept burning throughout the night, hoping the light would keep the lions away. But Patterson still underestimated what they were facing. He thought these were ordinary lions, the kind he had seen before. He didn't realize these two lions were completely different. They had become specialized hunters. They needed around one human every day just to survive. So when night came, the lions didn't care about the fires. They didn't care about the wooden barriers. They simply broke through and entered the camp. And before anyone could react, they took two more victims. The next morning, everyone was terrified. People could barely sleep for even 10 minutes. They were exhausted, scared, and trapped. That was when Patterson finally understood something. These lions were not behaving like normal predators. They weren't just attacking because they were hungry. They had become human hunters. After realizing how dangerous these lions truly were, Patterson knew he needed a new plan. He decided the workers had to protect themselves at night, so he created a night guard. Every night, armed men would stay awake until morning, watching the camp and waiting for a chance to stop the lions. The goal was simple: kill the lions and give the workers enough time to sleep and continue building the railway. But there was one huge problem. A camp holding 3,000 people was not small. It stretched across a massive area. Even with fires burning everywhere, they couldn't watch every single corner. And these two lions were extremely intelligent. They quickly understood that getting close to armed guards was dangerous. So instead of attacking where people were watching, they attacked where nobody expected. That night, the lions moved far away from the guards. They found two separate areas with fewer defenses, killed two more workers, and disappeared before anyone could stop them. At this point, Patterson began questioning whether they could ever defeat these animals, but the British were not the type to simply give up. The attacks continued. Most of the lions' attempts were successful. Around 90% of their attacks ended with a kill. The other 10% were different. Sometimes the lions attacked the workers' supplies instead. Instead of entering a human tent, they would break into storage tents, grab bags of rice, and run away. Of course, rice was useless to them, but it showed just how fearless they had become. Week after week, the camp kept losing people. Patterson couldn't capture them. He couldn't kill them, so he decided to set a trap. The idea was simple. They built a large wooden cage and placed food inside. The plan was to lure one of the lions in, then close the door and trap it. And eventually it worked. They managed to catch one of the lions, but they had no idea how powerful this animal really was. The lion threw itself against the wooden cage and broke through the structure. It escaped. The workers tried to shoot it as it ran away, but every shot missed. The lion disappeared back into the darkness. Then came December 9th, 1898. For 9 months, they had hunted workers, and nobody had been able to stop them. But that was about to change. One day, Patterson received news that a donkey nearby had been killed, and one of the lions was still there, feeding on the body. Patterson grabbed his weapon and rushed toward the scene. From a distance, he spotted the lion, but the lion spotted him too. The moment it saw the weapon, it ran. Patterson approached the donkey and noticed something important. The lion had barely eaten. It was still hungry, and he knew it would probably come back. Nearby there was a tree, so Patterson climbed up with his rifle and waited. He ordered his men to return to camp and leave the area quiet. The plan was simple: wait for the lion to return. Hours passed. Night arrived, but luckily the sky was bright enough that Patterson could still see through the darkness. Then, in the distance, something moved through the vegetation. He thought, "That's it, the lion is back." He prepared his rifle. But then he realized something terrifying. The lion wasn't moving toward the donkey. It was running straight toward the tree. It had seen him. Patterson had no choice. He fired. One shot, then another, then another. One of the bullets hit the lion. The animal turned and tried to escape. But Patterson kept shooting. He believed several bullets had hit the lion, but he wasn't completely sure. The lion disappeared into the darkness, and Patterson had one problem. He didn't dare climb down. So he stayed on that tree, waiting until morning. The next morning, Patterson's men returned to find him still sitting high above the ground. Only after seeing his group arrive did he finally climb down from the tree. He told them, "I think I hit it. Let's find out where it went." They followed the trail. A few hundred meters away, they discovered drops of blood on the ground. They kept moving forward until they finally saw it, a massive lion lying on the earth. The first of the two killers was dead. But there was something unusual about this lion. It was a male, yet it had no mane. Many people expect male lions to have large, impressive manes, but the Tsavo lions were a unique population where some males had little or no mane at all. However, in movies about this story, the lions are usually shown with huge manes to make them look more powerful and dramatic. The most famous film based on this event is The Ghost in the Darkness. When Patterson found the dead lion, he wanted to document what had happened, so he asked for a camera to be brought in. Remember, this was 1898. Cameras were rare and expensive at the time, but somehow they managed to capture a photograph of the animal. A picture that is now more than 126 years old. They lifted the lion's head with wooden sticks so people could understand its size, and standing beside it, Patterson showed just how enormous this predator really was. The lion measured around 2 meters and 95 centimeters long, just 5 centimeters short of 3 meters. They never recorded its exact weight because there was no proper scale available. But experts estimate that a male lion of this size could have weighed around 267 kilograms. But the nightmare wasn't over. There was still one lion left, and Patterson knew the second one was still out there. A few days passed, then the workers discovered that another donkey had been killed. Everyone immediately knew what it meant. The second lion was nearby. Patterson ordered his men to build a tall wooden platform, a place where he could hide above the ground and watch the area safely. They placed the donkey's body below as bait. Then Patterson climbed onto the platform and waited. Night came, but luckily, the moon was still bright enough to see through the darkness. Around midnight, the lion finally appeared. It slowly approached the donkey. The moment Patterson saw it getting close, he raised his rifle and started firing. One of the shots hit the lion, but instead of attacking, the wounded animal turned and escaped into the darkness. When morning came, Patterson and his men searched the area. They found small traces of blood, but no body. The lion was still alive. The second lion was injured, but it was still alive, and that made it even more dangerous. That night, Patterson returned to the wooden platform, hoping to finish what he started. This time, he wasn't alone. One of his men joined him, carrying a rifle as well. Hours passed, the darkness surrounded them, and eventually Patterson started to lose focus. He leaned against the tree and began to fall asleep. But suddenly, his companion woke him up. "Look over there, it's coming." The lion was back. Both men immediately grabbed their weapons and prepared to fire. But Patterson stayed calm. He wanted to wait. He knew they needed to get closer, closer, and closer, until the lion was only about 20 meters away. Then Patterson gave the signal. Now, both men opened fire, again and again. Several bullets hit the lion. They were sure this time it had to be over. They believed at least 4 or 5 shots had found their target. But somehow, the lion turned around. and escaped into the darkness. The next morning, Patterson and his team followed the blood trail. They searched everywhere, but once again, there was no body. Then suddenly, they found it. The lion was sitting on the ground, wounded, angry, and still alive. Patterson knew there was only one choice left. He raised his rifle and ended the animal's life. With the second lion finally dead, Patterson took another photograph with the predator. Just like the first lion, this one was enormous. It measured around 2 meters and 90 centimeters long, a giant animal that had terrorized the railway camp for months. But some people later questioned Patterson's actions. They asked, why kill these lions? Why destroy wildlife? And today that is a fair question. But in 1898, the situation was completely different. These 2 lions had killed and eaten around 135 people from the railway camp. The workers had no other option. If they didn't stop these predators, the attacks would have continued, night after night, victim after victim. And that is why this place became known as Tsavo, the place of slaughter.